Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Witchcrafter Azamina deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play that I've included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Madame Veer. Madame Veer is one of our main boss monsters on this deck, and this card is actually insane. The ability that during damage calculation, if your spellcaster monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can reveal any number of spell cards with different names in your hand, and if you do, your battling monster gains 1,000 attack points for each card revealed until the end of this turn, which is a crazy powerful effect to make your monster absolutely massive. Also, this card is a crazy powerful effect to quick effect discard a spell card to negate the effects of all face-up monsters that your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn, basically being a walking cold wave. And you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. We then have a single copy of Witchcrafter Azamina. Witchcrafter Azamina is really good as a 1-F in the build, but you only need a single copy of this card because this card helps us pop cards on the field. With the ability your opponent cannot target other spellcaster monsters you control with card effects, and quick effect, you can discard a spell card to target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. We then have a single copy of Golemaruru. Golemaruru is a very interesting 1-F in the build because this card is the ability when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a spellcaster monster you control or targets it for an attack. Quick effect, you can target a one card your opponent controls and or one of your Witchcrafter spells in the graveyard and special summon this card from the hand. If you do, return that targeted card back to the hand, helping you bounce cards off the field. Also, once per turn, during your opponent's standby phase, return this card back to your hand so you can use this effect all over again. We then play 3 copies of Shemeta. Shemeta is really good as a 3-F in the build and one of the most powerful summons in the entire deck, with the ability that during the main phase, quick effect, you can actually tribute this card, discard a spell, and then special summon a Witchcrafter monster directly from your deck, except another copy of this card, which is a great effect to help you bring out your copy of Madame Veer to your side of the field. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to send a Witchcrafter card from your deck to the graveyard, except a copy of this card, which is such a powerful ability to help you get your Witchcrafter spells into the graveyard so you can add them back to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Jenny. Jenny is really good as a 3-F as well in the deck and such an awesome card in this deck because this card is an awesome effect that during the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card, discard a spell, and then special summon a Witchcrafter monster from the deck, except another copy of this card, just like your copy of Shemeta. And you can also banish this card and a Witchcrafter spell from the graveyard, and this card's effect becomes that spell's effect when it would be activated, which is great to help you copy your Witchcrafter spells. We then play a single copy of Pottery. Pottery is really good as a 1-F in the build, just to have an additional Witchcrafter name in the deck. With this card is a similar effect to your copy of Jenny and Shemeta to help you summon out your Witchcrafter monsters from the deck. With this card has a unique banish from graveyard ability that you can banish this card in the graveyard and then draw a card, then send a Witchcrafter card from your hand to the graveyard, or if you have none, you banish your entire hand, which is a pretty cool ability to help you dig in the deck for the exact card that you need. We then play 3 copies of Diabellstar. Diabellstar, the Black Witch, is definitely a 3-F in the build to help us get into our Azamina engine, as this card helps us get to our copy of Deception with the ability that you can special this card from your hand by sending a card from your hand or field to the graveyard, which is a pretty cool effect to instantly bring this card out. Also, if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually set a simple spell or trap directly from your deck to your side of the field, which is a great effect to help us get to our copy of Deception so we can basically step into our Azamina engine. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-F in the build to help us just basically stop our opponent from touching the deck. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Deception of the Sinful Spools. Deception is really good in the deck as a 1-of, because this card helps us step into our Azamina engine with the ability that you can actually treat a monster from your hand or field to add an Azamina card from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to help us get to a copy of Debutors or Hollowed Azamina. This card also has the ability, if a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard and you control an Azamina monster, you can actually make your opponent lose 1,500 life points, and if you do, gain 1,500 life points. And during the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there from the spell and trap card zone this turn while face up, you can actually set it back to your side of the field, which is a great effect to be able to use it all over again. We made a single copy of the Hollowed Azamina. Hollowed Azamina is great in the build as a 1-of because it lets you reveal an Azamina fusion monster in the extract, and for every 4 levels it has round down, which we're only using level 6s, you can actually send a Sinful Spools card from your hand and or field to the graveyard. If face down, reveal it, then special summon that revealed monster, and it is being treated as being fusion summoned, which is a great ability to help us step into our Azamina engine. And then a single copy of Debutors. Debutors is really powerful as a 1-of in the build, just to help us step into an additional Azamina monster, as this card is very similar to your copy of Hollowed Azamina, but it's a quick play spell. We made a single copy of Sinful Spools of the White Forest. This card is amazing in the deck and very similar to your copy of Branded in Red, as this card has a really cool ability that if you control a Fiend, Illusion, or Spellcaster monster, you can activate one of these effects, but we're always using its ability to help us fusion summon, because this card lets us fusion summon a fusion monster from our extract using monsters from our hand or field as material, helping us summon to a copy of Guardian Chimera during the opponent's turn, which is great to be able to do. And this card is searchable in the deck because it is a Sinful Spools card, which is why we're playing it as a 1-of. We made a single copy of Magician's Right Hand. Magician's Right Hand is very good as a 1-of in the build because this card negates the effects of your opponent's first spell card or effect that responds each turn, which is a really cool effect to be able to just instantly use this card as a spell card negate while you control a spellcaster monster, but it does have to negate the very first spell that they activate. We then play 2 copies of Magician's Restage. Magician's Restage is great because this card can actually search out your copy of Magician's Right Hand. This card has the ability you can actually target a level 3 or lower spellcaster monster in the graveyard and special summon him, and this effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can actually add a Magician continuous spell from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty cool effect to be able to use. We then play a single copy of Witchcrafter Bystreet. This card is amazing in the build as a 1-of, but you only need a single copy of this card. This card has the ability the first time each Witchcrafter monster you control would be destroyed each turn by battle by card effect, it is not destroyed. And also this card has the ability if a Witchcrafter monster you control would discard to activate its effect, you can actually send this card from the field to the grave instead. And during the end phase, if you control a Witchcrafter monster while this card's in the graveyard, you can place this card face up in your spell and trap card zone, which is a pretty cool effect. We play a single copy of Unveiling. Unveiling is amazing in the deck as a 1-of to be able to play, as this card lets us special summon a Witchcrafter monster from the hand, and if you do, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of your Spellcaster monster's effect for the rest of the turn, which is such a powerful ability. And all of our Witchcrafter spells actually share a common effect, that during your end phase, if you control a Witchcrafter monster while this card's in the graveyard, you can add this card to your hand, but you can only use one effect this card per turn and only one set turn, meaning you can either activate it or add it back from your graveyard to your hand, which is a very interesting thing about the Witchcrafter spells. We then play 2 copies of Witchcrafter Confusion Confession. This card is actually a fusion spell, which is really good to help us fusion summon into our Witchcrafter fusion monster. We then play 2 copies of Witchcrafter Holiday. Witchcrafter Holiday is really good as well, because this card is actually a monster born, letting us target a Witchcrafter monster in the graveyard and special summon it. We then play 3 copies of Creation. Creation is basically the Rhoda for the deck, letting us add a Witchcrafter monster from our deck to our hand, which is an amazing ability. We then play 3 copies of Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spools. This card helps us get to our copy of Diabellstar, which is going to help us get into our copies of our Azamina engine, which is just absolutely amazing to instantly step into our copies of our Azamina cards. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is amazing to be able to play to just break your opponent's board because this card can help you fusion summon away your opponent's cards. So this card is definitely a 3-of in the build, just help you break your opponent's board in this particular deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good as a 3-of in the build, just to basically stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. This card is an amazing hand trap in the build, and just such a powerful card to be able to play. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Azamina Severa. This card is really good to be able to play because this card is actually a walking negate on her side of the field and super easy to summon out with your copy of Debutors or Hollowed Azamina. And lay a single copy of Musalago. Musalago is really good as a 1-of to be able to summon, as this card has an amazing ability. If this card is summoned, you actually get to add an Azamina or a Sinful Spoils card from your deck to your hand, which is such a powerful ability. And also monsters your opponent control lose 500 attack and defense points for each Azamina monster that you control, which is a pretty cool ability because usually with this card you're going to control 2, this card and your copy of Severa, making them lose 1,000 attack and defense points, which is really good. And lay a single copy of Soul. Soul just helps you spot remove cards off the field, and it's a pretty interesting super poly target in the deck as well, depending on what you're playing up against, and it's a really cool card to be able to play in this deck. We lay 2 copies of Vice Madam. Vice Madam is really good in the deck to basically just play this card to help us pop cards on the field, special summon a level 6 or lower Witchcrafter monster in the hand or deck, or add a Witchcrafter spell or trap from our graveyard to your hand. And this card is just so good to be able to do because you can actually use those abilities when a spell card or a non-fusion spellcaster monster effect is activated. You can use them as a quick effect to activate any one of those effects, but you only activate each of those effects once per turn, which is just really insane that you can actually get all 3 of those awesome abilities. And lay a single copy of Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera is really good to be able to play in the deck as a 1-of, as this card either lets you draw 2 and pop a card, or pop 2 and draw a card, which is really good to be able to use in this particular build with your copy of Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. Lay a single copy of Garua and a single copy of Mud Dragon. These cards are just amazing super poly targets in this particular deck, and some of the best in the entire game to be able to use in this particular deck. We then lay a single copy of Typhon. Typhon's just really good. You'll use this card as a skill drain for 3,000 hour attack with monsters and a bounce, which is just really nice. Lay a single copy of Access Code because this card comes out absolutely massive and can pop multiple cards on the field. 1 copy of Selene to easily climb into a copy of Access Code in this particular deck. 1 copy of the Fire Charmer. Fire Charmer is great because we do play Shemeta in the deck, and this card also can take Ash Blossom out of the opponent's graveyard and help us summon to Selene and then Access Code. And lay a single copy of the Dark Charmer. Dark Charmer is also really good in this deck to help us climb into Selene and then Access Code, as we can easily take cards out of our opponent's graveyard, and plus it's super easy to make us play a bunch of dark monsters in the deck. Between our copy of Dibellstar to our copy of Hane, it's very easy to be able to make this card. We can lay a single copy of SP. SP is really good in the deck as a 1-of as well, just to basically use this card as an interruption. And then finally lay a single copy of Artemis. Artemis is just amazing in the deck to help us get our Witchcrafter monsters into the graveyard. So this card is just a really good 1-of in the build. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Witchcrafter Azamina deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's so fun to be able to play, and it's insane the potential this deck actually has, and it just makes some absolutely incredible boards. By just summoning out your copy of Madame Veer, your fusion monster for your Witchcrafters, and your copy of Severa, you can establish a pretty crazy board. So that's gonna do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, come for our notification squad. We'll see you guys in the next video. So, guys.